It's the 22nd of July 2024. This is a brand new edition of Primetime News on TV1, coming to you live and direct from our Newsfirst studios here in Colombo. For the Newsfirst team, I am Jaimal Ratnaik.
And I'm Naveksha Gunasekar, and here are your headlines for tonight.
Hirunika, who was sentenced to prison with hard labour, granted bail. Venerable Yanasar Thero also granted bail. Political parties and groups agree on putting forward a Tamil common candidate for the presidential poll. Will the SLPP back Ranil Wickramasinghe for re-election? SJB calls on Election Commission to prevent malpractices. Joe Biden drops out of 2024 presidential race. Endorses Kamala Harris.
In tonight's top story, the Colombo High Court granted bail to former Member of Parliament Hirunika Premachandra, who was previously sentenced to rigorous imprisonment. Bail was granted after she already spent 25 days in prison.
On June 28, presiding High Court Judge Amal Vanaraja found Hirunika Premachandra guilty on 18 counts, including the abduction and assault of a young man in the Dematakoda region. Subsequent to the conviction, an appeal for bail was lodged with the Court of Appeal on behalf of Premachandra. In a parallel move, a bail plea was also made in the High Court by President's Counsel Nalinda Indatissa, contingent upon the pending appeal. After consideration of the presented facts, Judge Amal Vanaraja ruled in favour of the appeal, resulting in Premachandra's conditional release. She was released on a cash bail of 50,000 rupees and two personal bails of 500,000 rupees. Additionally, the court imposed an overseas travel ban on Hirunika Premachandra.
ඉතින් මට ඕනෑම තැනක ඕනෑම විදිහකට ඕනෑම වාතාවරණයක ඉන්න පුළුවන් කෙනෙක් ඉතින් හිටියා හිරගෙදර එහෙම.
I'm adaptable and can handle any situation. In prison, life was normal without any issues. Cut off from the world, I had no newspapers, TV or phone to know what was happening outside. Now I'm curious to find out what I missed in these 25 days. I respect the court's decision. As just another person, I spent my time with about 60 other inmates in the Valikatta prison's women's ward. I stayed healthy, didn't have any back pain, ate the same food and wore the same clothes as everyone else. Unlike others, I did not have a phone, laptop, fan or air conditioning. We all shared 2 toilets and 1 water tank. I met many women there. Some were very kind and others had it tough. We supported each other. This experience has taught me a lot and will be valuable for my future in politics. But for now, I'm eager to see my children, whom I haven't hugged in 25 days. I'll share more about my time in prison at a press conference later.
මම ඒගොල්ලම බලන්න යන්න ඕනේ. එහෙනම් අපි සිරගෙදර සියලු දේ පිළිබඳව ඉස්සරහට මාධ්‍ය සාකච්ඡාවකදී ඉදිරියේදී ගැන කතා කරන්න.
After securing bail, Hirunika Premachandra left the court premises with her family.
Colombo High Court Judge Aditya Patabandige granted bail to Venerable Galagodatte Nyanasara Thero, who was previously sentenced to 4 years of rigorous imprisonment. The decision came into effect after prison officials presented Venerable Nyanasara Thero before the High Court, where the bail conditions were formally communicated to him. Appeal Court judges Sampatha Bekon and P. Kumar Ratnam had previously sanctioned a cash bail of 50,000 rupees along with 2 sureties of 500,000 rupees each last Friday, concluding the deliberations on an appeal filed by Nyanasara Thero.
Road to Election 2024.
A memorandum of understanding was signed in Jaffna today to field a common Tamil candidate for the upcoming presidential election. The MOU was signed between 7 political parties and several civil organizations representing the Tamil community.
The MOU was signed at the Thandei Selva Auditorium in Jaffna. The signing of the MOU was attended by leaders of several Tamil political parties and civil society activists representing the Tamil People General Assembly. Leader of Tello, MP Selva Madekalanathan. Leader of Tamil Makkal Desiya Kootani, MP C.V. Vigneswaran. Leader of Plot, MP Dharmalingam Siddharthan. Leader of the Tamil National Party, Attorney at Law N. Srikantha, and leader of the EPRLF, Suresh Premachandran, also signed the MOU. A group including civil activist T. Vasantaraja, Attorney at Law S.A. Jyothilingam, and Professor K.T. Ganeshalingam signed the MOU representing civil organizations. The MOU states that the Tamil community living in Sri Lanka have land rights to their traditional homelands in the north and east. It states that the Tamil people are entitled to that right in line with the international laws. It further states that the lack of justice for war crimes, lack of a political solution, suppression, intimidations, invasions, mistreatment and the military background have raised concerns regarding the existence of the Tamil people. Accordingly, through the MOU, a decision was reached to field a common candidate for the upcoming presidential election with the aim of uniting the Tamil people of Sri Lanka. The relevant MOU, comprising 9 points, highlights that a common Tamil candidate will be fielded in order to reflect the aspirations of the Tamil people in the upcoming presidential election.
This mechanism serves as a vital tool for us, the majority in the north and east, often labelled as the minority, to counter the dominance of the majority. Today we stand united, encompassing representatives chosen by the people themselves, both voters and elected officials. The 13th Amendment falls short of meeting our needs as it operates within a unitary state framework that can perpetuate the oppression of the majority. Emphasizing our right to self-determination in alignment with international law, we put forth a presidential candidate who embodies the aspirations of this community.
Leader of the Tamil Progressive Alliance, MP Mano Ganeshan, speaking on Shakti TV's Minal program, commented on the Tamil common candidate.
It is aligned with the interests of the Northeast region. I advocated against the introduction of a common candidate. Beyond that, I also emphasized the need to maintain the integrity of our demands by not compromising and settling for second or third vote options from the South. Assurances were given that this issue would be addressed. I aim to share these sentiments during campaigning in the Northeast tomorrow. C.V. Vigneswaran is part of the group of 7 parties. He is against the election and calls for the postponement. He supports the government, so the person who wants to delay the poll is also calling for a common candidate. I do not understand this.
What is the stance of the Sri Lanka Podujana Perumuna over the upcoming presidential election, given the fact that they helped the incumbent president to obtain power? Here is a look.
Sunday marked the 2-year anniversary of Ranil Wickremesinghe taking office. To commemorate this milestone, he graced the Jayagamu rally in Kadawatha. The event was also attended by Minister Prasanna Ranatunga as well as SLPP MPs Sahan Pradeep, Kokila Gunawardena, Sisira Jayakodi, Upul Mahendra and Milan Jayatilaka. In addition, prominent SLPP figures such as Lohan Ratwatha, Kanchana Wijesekara, Mahindananda Alutkamage, Pramita Bandara Thinnakon, Geeta Kumarasinghe, Kanaka Herath, Tharaka Balasuriya, Anuradha Jayaratna, Piyal Nishantha, Rajaka Wickremesinghe, Pradeep Undugoda, Madhura Vidanage, Premnathi Dolawatta and Jayanta Veerasinghe were in attendance. Minister Prasanna Ranatunga proposed for Ranil Wickremesinghe to run for office.
I kindly request that you consider making a decision within the next week regarding your candidacy in the upcoming presidential election. I propose that Ranil Wickremesinghe should be the candidate. The people here have endorsed it and you cannot evade this. It is imperative that you run in the presidential election this year. All the people, including those in Gampaha, will work to make your victory a resounding victory.
රනිල් වික්‍රමසිංහ මැතිතුමා ජනාධිපති විය යුතුයි කියන යෝජනාව අපි අත උස්සලා යෝජනා සම්මත කරනවා කරු ජනාධිපතිතුමනි ඔබතුමා දැක්කා මේ මුළු සභාව මැතිස්සු ඒ නිසා දැන් ගැළවීමක් නැහැ ඔබතුමාට.
On the same day, at a meeting in Bingiriya chaired by Namal Rajapaksa, State Minister of Power and Energy Indikhan Rudda, also representing the Gampaha district, criticised the Kadawatha meeting.
Gampaha is trying to rise up, however, we must ponder with whom are we rising up with. We have to now rise up with our opponents. The district organizer is here, and we started these district meetings to discuss the government programs. I am the State Minister of Power and Energy, and Thenuka is the State Minister of Housing. Government programs are not being discussed over there. They are trying to split the SLPP and form some sort of alliance. We will not join that forum, and we cannot do it. The presence of Namal Rajapaksa and Mahinda Rajapaksa here today is a testament to their dedication, not a mere formality. I keep saying president, and we are anticipating a youth to become the president, and we are hoping that the party will reach the correct decision.
The Youth Front of the Sri Lanka Podujana Peramuna is gearing up for a summit in Colombo next Saturday. Speculation is rife about whether the party will unveil its presidential candidate at this event.
The president has yet to declare an official bid for re-election. Our party prides itself on its democratic decision-making process involving the Executive Council and the Politburo. Currently, we are considering several potential candidates. Ultimately, we aim to nominate a leader who embodies the nation's aspirations and possesses the capability to lead both the country and our party to success.
රටට ඕන කෙනා රට දිනවන්න පාක්ෂිකයන් දිනවන්න පුළුවන් කෙනා අපි අනිවාර්යෙන් පත් කරනවා.
තරුණිය වශයෙන් ඔබතුමාලගේ නාමල් රාජපක්ෂ මහත්මයා අපේක්ෂක වෙන්න බැරි කමක් නැද්ද?
මං හිතන්නේ ලංකාවේ ඉන්න හොඳම අපේක්ෂකයෙක් තමයි නාමල් රාජපක්ෂ මැතිතුමා.
Namal Rajapaksa stands out as a formidable contender for the presidency. The voice of the people is paramount, and there's a growing consensus that the nation's youth should take the helm. Namal Rajapaksa is widely regarded as the ideal candidate to meet this call, and there's no debate on his suitability.
ඒකට සුදුසුම කෙනෙක් ඒක ගැන විවාදයක් නැහැ.
MP SB Disanayak emphasised that the majority within the Sri Lanka Podujana Peramuna supports the re-election of the current president.
The party has yet to reach a consensus, with opinions seemingly split. While some advocate for the business acumen of Dhammika Pereira, the overwhelming majority lean towards endorsing Ranil Wickremesinghe for another term.
අති බහුතරය රනිල් වික්‍රමසිංහ මහත්මයා නැවත පත් කිරීමේ උවමනාවේ කටයුතු කරන බව පේනවා.
දැන් පොහොට්ටුව කියන්නේ පොහොට්ටුවේම අපේක්ෂකෙක් දානවා කියලා ඒකට මොකද්ද මේකේ පරස්පරය?
එහෙමම කියන්නේ.
It's not about simply placing a candidate. Should Ranil Wickremesinghe be our choice, it could secure a lasting victory for the SLPP. However, there's a risk should we diverge from this path.
ඒකලා බලන්න පුළුවන්. එහෙම නැත්නම් ජයග්‍රහණය පිළිබඳ අවධානමක් තියෙනවා කියලා මම හිතනවා.
පොහොට්ටුව නැද්ද අපේක්ෂකෙක් ඇත්තටම ජයග්‍රහණය අපේක්ෂකෙක් නැද්ද ඔබතුමා කියන්නේ?
Although there are other potential nominees, they haven't been afforded the opportunity to come to the forefront.
Chaminda Vijayasiri, a former SJB MP, offered perspective on the SLPP stance during today's press briefing.
The political theatre unfolding before us demands the nation's discernment. The electoral dynamics are poised to shift significantly should Namal Rajapaksa join forces with Mahinda Rajapaksa and Basil Rajapaksa. My observation is that they are trying to claim that Ranil Wickremesinghe's alliance is no longer with them and they would be fielding a separate candidate. It is clear that this drama is aimed at securing votes that Ranil Wickremesinghe cannot obtain from their side. The crux of the matter lies with the uncertainty that now pervades our thoughts. One must ponder, without Ranil Wickremesinghe's influence, what would Namal's political landscape resemble? Namal Rajapaksa and their families hid in bunkers and had sent their children overseas. We are aware that they will be committed to ensure the victory of the current president to return the favour.
As the presidential election approaches, the topic of the file has once again become a focal point of discussion. Here's a look.
Files.
On the 15th of July, the President commented on the possession of files during a meeting with lawyers.
කොහොමද දූෂණය පාලනය කරන්නේ අවම කරන්නේ නැති කරන්නේ කියලා සටහනක් ගේනවා මම කියන්නේ හොරු අල්ලනවා කියලා. ඒ හොරා පොලිස් සෙල්ලම් කරන එක. මගේ
We are presenting strategies to tackle corruption which involves apprehending the culprits, akin to playing a game of cops and robbers. Anura Kumara Desanayake once revealed a staggering 400 files related to corruption cases. He had the copies and I have the files. These were officially handed over to us by the Prime Minister for thorough investigation by the Anti-Corruption Commission. Initially, then President Maithripala Sirisena, with Valiyamuna's intervention, suggested we allocated funds for this purpose. Out of the 400 files, our secretary has been tasked to review each one. Consequently, Anand Vijaypala initiated legal proceedings against 40. However, the remaining 360 files turned out to be inconsequential. It's evident that only the 40 with the substantial evidence are worth pursuing.
නිකන් හිස්. එයා ඔක්කොම බලලා 40කට නඩු දැම්මම ඒ ඔක්කොම තියෙනවා. කවුරු හරි ඔයගොල්ලෝ ඇවිල්ලා බලන්න ඕන නම් මම ඔක්කොම දෙන්නම් බලන්න. ඉතින් 400 පෙන්නලා වැඩක් නැහැ. අර 40 විතරයි පෙන්නන්න තිබුණේ. 360කට මොකුත් උනේ නැහැ.
Files.
Anura Kumar Disanayaka responded to the president in Japan.
මං කියන කතාව. දූෂණ මර්ධන ලේකම් කාර්යාලයක් තිබුණා. ඔය ලේකම් කාර්යාලයට විශාල පැමිණිලි ආවා. ඊට පස්සේ පැරණි පැමිණිලියනකොට ඔක ක්‍රියාත්මක වෙන්න පටන්
There once was an anti-corruption secretariat, and it began its work by addressing a backlog of old complaints. As it was making progress, new allegations started to pour in. Among them was a complaint regarding a Prado scam involving Ravi Karunanayaka. Other accusations followed, including fraudulent activities in Harrison's cattle purchases, irregularities in paddy sales by the Paddy Marketing Board, and questionable land divisions by the Land Reform Commission. As the secretariat was dealing with these old and new complaints, Ranil Wickremesinghe made the decision to close it down, even as allegations began to emerge against him. I want to make it clear to Ranil Wickremesinghe that I possess 2 files about him. We will conduct investigations, bring these matters before the court and seize assets.
එනිසා අනිවාර්යෙන් පරීක්ෂණ කරනවා නීති අමුට ගෙන යනවා පවරගත හැකි හැම දේපලක්ම පවරගන්නවා.
Files.
What does the SLPP have to say about these files?
මම හිතන්නේ මේ අනුර කුමාර දිසානායක මහත්තයාගේ ජපානයේ රැලිය සංවිධානය කරෙත්
Anura Kumar Disanayaka's rally in Japan, I believe, is organized by a representative from Ranil Wickremesinghe's UNP. That person may have given some files. It was the same person who had organized both the rallies.
දන්නේ මොකක්ද ඒකේ හේතුව කියලා. හැබැයි අපි දැක්ක එකම කෙනා තමයි රැස්වීම් දෙකම සංවිධානය කරලා තිබුණේ.
Files.
Vasantha Samarasinghe responded for the NPP.
Ranil has now recalled the existence of certain files. It was said that Anura has 40 of Ranil's files, while we have 568. This collection continues to grow with new information. Not only Ranil, but also members of his cabinet are implicated. Ranil was not freed from the bond scam and the Easter tax. While Maithripala Sirisena was fined 100 million, Ranil did not because he is enjoying the perks of presidency. However, as soon as it is over, he will have to face it.
මේක ඉවරෙච්ච ගමන් රනිල්ටත් ඒ දඩේ එනවා. නිසා මේ ඔක්කොම බලද්දි රනිල් බලනවා තව ටිකක් ඇදලා යන්න පුළුවන්ද කියලා. ව්‍යවස්ථාවේ ගේමක් ගහන්න පුළුවන්ද බලමු.
The Samagi Jana Balavege claims that all efforts made by President Ranil Wickremesinghe to delay the elections have failed. The SJB stressed that a presidential election will definitely be held.
ඇතිවරණය නියත වශයෙන්ම තියෙන බව දැනගෙන ජනාධිපතිවරයාද රජයේ මුදල් අයථා ලෙස පරිහරණය කරන්න පටන්.
With the certainty of the upcoming election, the president is misusing government funds and unlawfully deploying the police force for campaign purposes. We urge the Inspector General of Police and the Minister to halt these activities. Furthermore, concerns have been raised about the distribution of goods using public resources, urging ministry secretaries to fulfill their obligations. The consequences of these actions may require accountability in the future. We call on the president to hold democratic elections and not to abuse the state resources. It is strongly affirmed that by end of September, Sajith Premadasa is expected to assume the presidency of the country.
මේකට පාවිච්චි කරන්න එපා. අපි ලබන සැප්තැම්බර් මාසයේ අන්තිම වෙනකොට නියත වශයෙන්ම සජිත් ප්‍රේමදාස මහත්මයා මේ රටේ ජනාධිපති පදවියට පත් වෙනවා.
By using the theory of confusion, he will end up losing leadership of the UNP too. That is the only thing he was able to hold on to for this long. He cannot cling on to the presidency in that manner. They are attempting to repeat what we did back in 2019. The call to the name Sajith Premadasa as the presidential candidate was initiated from within the party because it was the opinion of the majority. What he is attempting to do now is make representatives of another party name him as the candidate. It cannot be done. He does not understand it. That is the level of his ineptness. He is being endorsed by a minister of the SLPP and not from the UNP. No one is willing to endorse him from the UNP.
සිදුරක් නැහැ. ඒ සිදුරක් තියනවා කියන කතාව සම්පූර්ණ මිත්‍ය. සිදුරක් තියනවා නම් ඇයි අවුරුදු 9ක්
The claim of a loophole is entirely unfounded. If there were indeed a loophole, why did Ranil Wickremesinghe, who introduced the 19th Amendment to the Parliament, take no action during the past 9 years? It was Wickremesinghe himself who held the position of Prime Minister. The absence of any action during those 9 years raises doubts about the validity of such claims.
ඇයි අවුරුදු 9ක් බලා ඉඳලා මේ ජනාධිපතිවරණේ ඔන්න මෙන්න තිබියදී නැති ප්‍රශ්නයක් ඇති කරන්න ඇයි එතුමා උත්සාහ කරන්නේ?
ඇමරිකාවේ ජෝ බයිඩන් ජනාධිපතිතුමත් ඔය වගේ කතා කිව්වා.
දැන් ඕගොල්ලෝ හොයන්න කවුද කමලා හැරිස් කියලා හොයන්න.
ඒ කියන්නේ වෙන කෙනෙක් කියනවා. වෙන කෙනෙක් කියනවා.
අපි දන්නේ නැහැ ඉතින්. ජෝ බයිඩන් අයින් වෙලානේ එයා යෝජනා කරලා තිනවා කමලා හැරිස්. ඒ වගේම රනිල් වික්‍රමසිංහ මහත්තයාත් අයින් වෙලා එයා කාවාරි යෝජනා කරයිද දන්නේ නැහැ.
ජනතා කැමැත්තට එරෙහිව නොඑක් උප්පරවැට්ටි පාවිච්චි කරමින් මොකක් හරි විදිහට බලයේ එල්ලී සිටීම තමයි රනිල් වික්‍රමසිංහ ජනාධිපති.
The president's intention is to desperately hold on to power through various schemes going against the will of the people. The next scheme is the 22nd Amendment. That will not succeed either. It will not only be rejected by the opposition but also the ruling faction. It is evident that none of the MPs will support it. Mahinda Amaraveera said there is no reason to do it and they will not support it. If so, we believe that it won't get a simple majority, let alone 2/3. If he has any dignity, what he has to do is respect the wishes of the people, hold the presidential election and go home.
ඒතර මේ අවස්ථාවේදී කිසිම ආත්මගරුත්වයක් තිබෙනවා නම් ජනාධිපතිවරයා කළ යුත්තේ මේ ජනාධිපතිවරණය පවත්වලා ජනතා මතයට හිස නමලා ගෙදර යන එක තමයි මේ අවස්ථාවේදී කරන්න තියෙන්නේ.
The United National Party claims that there is no correlation between the 22nd Amendment and the presidential election.
There is no connection between the constitutional amendment and the presidential election. Rectifying an oversight of a certain constitution does not concern the presidential election. If such an error has occurred, it needs to be correct before the end of this year. There is an error in Article 83A of the Constitution. It will be corrected.
යම් අඩුපාඩුවක් සිදු වී තිබෙනවා ඒ නිවැරදි වීම සිදු වෙයි.
Member of Parliament Udaya Gamampila draws a parallel between the 22nd Amendment and the presidential polls.
The government has confused the entire nation by untimely introducing the 22nd Amendment to the Constitution. The government says, we are sorry, we forget to amend the Article 83B by the 19th Amendment, so we are bringing the 22nd Amendment to correct that mistake. This is an utter lie. Why do we claim so? The term of president has already been reduced from 6 to 5 years by amending Article 30 sub-Article 2 by 19th Amendment. Therefore, with or without the 22nd Amendment, term of the president has already been reduced to 5 years. Drafters of the 19th Amendment deliberately avoided amending Article 83B in order to avoid going for a referendum. Now government is in an attempt to pass the 22nd Amendment, avoiding a referendum without seeking the people's approval at a referendum. Therefore, we have planned to challenge the 22nd Amendment before the Supreme Court to get a determination requiring a people's approval at a referendum, in addition to the 2/3 majority in Parliament. Similarly, we will do whatever possible to ensure the defeat of 22nd Amendment in Parliament.
The Minister of Justice proposed the 22nd Amendment to the Cabinet alongside the President and later advised the Secretary not to gazette it. What is his stance now?
It was gazetted last Thursday. It can be presented for the first reading on Friday if required, that is on the 26th. There is time till the 10th of August for petitions to be filed. The court order has to be announced within 3 weeks after the 10th of August. That is the time frame. The National Election Commission must act without any hindrance. No one can neglect their responsibilities. That is a directive enshrined in the Constitution. The Election Commission is empowered by the law when election season approaches. The Commission will act independently. No one can influence it
The Samaki Jana Balawegaya filed a complaint with the Election Commission.
General Secretary of the SJB, Ranjit Madhuma Bandar, accompanied by MPs Mujibur Rahman and Chandimavira Khudi, arrived at the Election Commission and claimed that numerous irregularities are taking place leading up to the presidential polls.
The latest ploy they have employed is when the chairman of the Election Commission issues a directive, governors, ministry secretaries and chairmen are directing it to the Attorney General for advice. The intention is to bide time. Our request to the AG is for those responses to be expedited so as to ensure that he does not contribute to the delaying of the election or bending the law. Attempts are being made by the officers of the Department of Samurdhi Development to provide skills for people to be employed overseas in a matter of hours. For that, they are preparing to carry busloads of people. How will they be empowered? They are asked to listen to what the candidates and the ministers have to say. We urge the ministry secretaries to refrain from aiding attempts to bend the law.
Dayasiri Jayasekara says that the Sri Lanka Freedom Party is currently functioning with an illegally appointed chairman and secretary.
මේ පක්ෂයේ නීත්‍යානුකූල ලේකම්වරයා මමයි. ඒ ලේකම් තනතුර මට ලැබිලා තියෙන්නේ උසාවියේ.
I am the legally appointed secretary of this party. I have obtained it through a court order. Following that court order, we will bring the SLFP to a stable position very soon. Nimal Siripala De Silva and Duminda Disanayaka have both claimed that they are the chairman and secretary respectively. But the NAC has not issued a single document recognizing them as those officials. The final outcome of this will be the NAC summoning both parties to examine the situation. If an agreement cannot be reached, the party will not be allowed to contest elections. The organizers should realize the plight of the party.
මේ ඉරණම හොඳින් මේ පක්ෂයේ ඉන්න සම්විධායකවරු තේරුම් ගත යුතුයි.
Opposition leader Sajid Premadasa says a national program will be implemented to eliminate child poverty in Sri Lanka before the end of this year.
Opposition leader Sajid Premadasa joined the ceremony to hand over a smart classroom under the Sakwala program to Mahagamasekara Mahavidyalaya in Radhavana Dompe in Gampaha. This is the 357th phase of the Sakwala program.
Statistics show that 42% of our country's children suffer from multidimensional poverty. This was revealed through international surveys. What should we do to eliminate child poverty? It is crucial that a clear national program is implemented immediately, while a presidential task force to eliminate child poverty should also be established. We will implement a special national program to eradicate child poverty before the end of this year.
National Child Poverty Alleviation Program.
The Election Commission was empowered to declare the presidential election 5 days ago.
The power of the people.
The Symphony Orchestra of Sri Lanka proudly presents Romantic Masterworks, an enchanting evening of romantic-era masterpieces conducted by Dusyanthi Pereira, featuring Dr. Jonathan Guest on clarinet and young Sri Lankan pianist Dhiren Fernando. 27 July, 7 p.m. onwards at the Lionel Wendt Theatre. Tickets available now. Electronic media sponsors: Yes 101, Legends 966, Newsfirst and TV1.
A group of people who applied for jobs in Korea protested opposite the Department of Labour in Narayampeta this morning.
The protest was held alleging that private agencies charged between 1.5 rupees to 2 million rupees to send youth to work in the agriculture sector in Korea.
There is a program to charge between 1.5 to 2 million rupees through private agencies for the agriculture sector in Korea. We are protesting against that program. Some of us sat for the Korean exam. There are people who left without an employment contract after 2 years. There is also a group of children who did not score enough marks at the exam. They are facing injustice. They charge 1.5 million to 2 million rupees and don't send them overseas. We are calling for a stringent process to conduct interviews through the Foreign Employment Bureau to give these children an opportunity.
සම්මුඛ පරීක්ෂණ පවත්වලා මේ දරුවන්ට අවස්ථාවක් ලබා දෙන්න කියලා.
The All Ceylon Unemployed Graduates Association held a satyagraha at the Fort Railway Station. Their main demand is for the provision of suitable employment opportunities for graduates prior to the upcoming elections.
Since 2020, graduates were not given appointments. There are around 35,000 unemployed graduates in the country. We launched a satyagraha for this issue until a proper solution is given. We will engage in this campaign.
A Reuters poll claims that Sri Lanka's central bank is expected to hold interest rates to foster stability.
The Newsfirst Finance Report.
Sri Lanka's central bank is expected to hold interest rates for a second straight meeting on Wednesday as it attempts to maintain monetary stability in the shadow of a dragging financial crisis and counter simmering political tensions. 9 out of 14 economists and analysts polled by Reuters expect the standing deposit facility rate and the standing lending facility rate to be unchanged at 8.5% and 9.5% respectively. The Central Bank of Sri Lanka reduced rates by 50 bps in March as it continued an easing cycle that has seen rates drop by 700 bps since June, partially reversing the 1050 bps in increases since April 2022. Analysts said Sri Lanka's key inflation rate dropped to 1.7% in June and is likely to remain under the CBSL's target of 5% for the year. They added, however, that persistent political concerns around how Sri Lanka's upcoming presidential election, which is expected to be announced later this month, will play out is weighing on the economy. The election is expected to be held in late September or early October. CBSL expects Sri Lanka to grow by 3% this year, 2 years after the economy shrank 7.3% due to a severe dollar shortage.
The Newsfirst Finance Report.
The Ministry of Health received refrigerated trucks from UNICEF, supported by the government of Japan, to boost immunization services in Sri Lanka.
The Ministry of Health has received 9 refrigerated trucks procured by UNICEF with funding from the government of Japan to further improve the delivery system of vaccines to all children across Sri Lanka. The refrigerated trucks were handed over by Ambassador of Japan to Sri Lanka, Mizukoshi Hideaki, an acting UNICEF representative in Sri Lanka, Bigona Arlano, during a ceremony held at the Ministry of Health, and they were received by the Minister of Health, Dr. Ramesh Patirana. The trucks are part of a total contribution of $3 million from the government of Japan that funded cold chain equipment, including large walk-in cold rooms to store vaccines at safe temperatures, portable vaccine carriers and temperature monitors, which have already been handed over to the Ministry of Health intermittently from 2021 to date. The trucks will facilitate the transportation of vaccines from central to regional storehouses and onwards to the health facilities. The vaccine carriers and cold boxes are already procured and distributed to the officers of the medical officers of health and hospitals. Over the years, the government of Japan has made significant contributions to support the joint efforts of UNICEF and the Ministry of Health in addressing both the long and short-term health needs of children.
The second International Conference on Mangrove Sustainability 2024 was held in Kaluthara today.
Vice-Chancellor of the Open University of Sri Lanka, Professor P.M.C. Tilakaratne, was the chief guest, while Indonesian Ambassador Dewi Gustina Tobing attended as a special guest. The guest lecture was delivered by Honorary Professor of the Centre of Advanced Study in Marine Biology of the Annamalai University in India, Kadireshan Kandasamy.
Mangroves are the most adopted systems in the world. Sri Lanka is the country of ecotourism. 80% of the economy is dependent on tourism, and you have great potential in this country using these mangroves. Globally, we have 4,000 mangrove sites, multi-million-dollar industry. Sri Lanka, South India, and Maldives, mangroves are critically endangered. So the mangrove restoration design should include sustainable aquaculture, biodiversity planting. So therefore, biodiversity should be considered in the restoration process.
The main objective was to protect the mangrove system.
Day 41 of the third phase of the LOLC Divisavya program, which is being carried out for the betterment of Sri Lanka's future generation, got underway today.
Under the Divisavya program, exercise books and stationery equipment required for a year are distributed free of charge to government schools with less than 150 students. Today's program was centered around the Badulla district. Accordingly, school bags and stationery equipment were donated to students of Mahadova Uppara Tamil School, Uva Kale Tamil School, Gallula Tamil School, Albert No. 1 Tamil School, Madavelagama Mahavidyalaya and Jayanti Vidyalaya. School bags and stationery were also distributed to students at the Badulla and Passara zonal education offices. The LOLC Divisavya program continues to forge ahead for the future generation of Sri Lanka.
Joe Biden's decision to drop out of the 2024 presidential race has sent ripples around the world, with a number of global leaders reacting to the news.
US President Joe Biden has ended his re-election campaign and endorsed Vice President Kamala Harris to succeed him as the Democratic candidate in an extraordinary decision that upends an already dramatic race for the White House. Biden said in a written statement that it was the greatest honor to serve, but his withdrawal was in the best interest of his party and the country. The announcement caps a tumultuous period in US politics, which began with his sometimes incoherent debate performance against Donald Trump on the 27th of June. Biden says he will remain president until January. Harris said that she was honored to be endorsed, adding she would earn and win this nomination and unite the country against Trump. While Harris has been picking up endorsements from many big figures in the party, she's yet to be officially nominated, and that may not happen until the Democratic National Convention in August. While Democrats most likely follow the president's lead and fall in line behind the vice president to avoid ongoing uncertainty less than a month from the Democratic Convention, there are also risks. Harris was born in Oakland, California, the daughter of an Indian-born mother and Jamaican-born father, and already made history by becoming the first black and female vice president in US history. She was elected California's Attorney General, the state's top law enforcement role, in 2010 and was re-elected 4 years later. She was elected to the US Senate in 2016 and became a leading critic of Trump, particularly when it came to his immigration policies. Harris initially mounted a run for the White House in the 2020 election, but quickly faded in the primary season after lackluster debate performances. At present, public opinion surveys show Harris' approval ratings are about as low as Biden's. And in head-to-head matchups against Donald Trump, she fares roughly the same as Biden. Dozens of senior Democrats and grandees, including former President Barack Obama, Senate Leader Chuck Schumer, and former House Speaker Nancy Pelosi, immediately praised the decision and lauded Biden's accomplishments in office. Former President Bill Clinton and 2016 Democratic candidate for president Hillary Clinton said they backed Kamala Harris as the party's candidate for November's vote. While Obama stated that he had extraordinary confidence that an outstanding nominee emerges, he did not explicitly back Harris or any other candidate. Pelosi has not commented. Many of Biden's allies, including Ukraine's President Volodymyr Zelensky, Canada's Prime Minister Justin Trudeau, and Japan's Prime Minister Fumio Kishida, paid tribute to his foreign policy achievements and acknowledged the difficulty of his decision. Germany's Chancellor Olaf Scholz posted on X, quote, "Thanks to Biden, transatlantic cooperation is close, NATO is strong, and the USA is a good and reliable partner for us. His decision not to run again deserves recognition," unquote. The United Kingdom's Prime Minister Keir Starmer said he respects Biden's decision and looks forward to working together for the rest of his presidency.
In more international news closer to home, Bangladesh appeared calm amid a curfew, but widespread disruptions of telecoms persisted a day after the Supreme Court scrapped some controversial job quotas as protesters set the government a 48-hour deadline to meet new demands.
Clashes between student protesters and security forces killed at least 147 people across the South Asian nation after the High Court last month reinstated job reservations removed by Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina's government in 2018. On Sunday, however, the Supreme Court ordered that 93% of government jobs should be allocated on the basis of merit against earlier quotas of 56% for groups such as families of freedom fighters, women and people from underdeveloped areas. Student protesters have also demanded the release of detained protest leaders leaders the lifting of curfew and the reopening of universities shut since Wednesday. They have given the government 48 hours to act, but it was not immediately clear what would happen afterwards. There were no reports of violence or protests on Monday, and media said curfew would be relaxed for 3 hours in the afternoon, extended from 2 hours the previous day so that people could buy essentials. Army tanks were seen stationed at several places in the streets of Dhaka, while armed security patrols directed the few motorists who ventured out. Department stores said they were running out of stocks because of supply disruptions following the curbs. The suspension of internet services also affected travel plans and essential services. Several migrant workers gathered at the offices of an airline on Sunday to collect tickets booked online, while others collected the office of a power distribution company in Dhaka to pay electricity bills in person.
Sri Lanka women achieved a historic win in Match 7 of Group B in the Women's Asia Cup 2024 at Dambulla, defeating Malaysia women by a massive 144 runs.
This victory not only showcased Sri Lanka's dominance in the match, but also set a new record for the largest margin of victory by runs in their T20 international history.
Sri Lanka's innings was anchored by a breathtaking performance from Chamariyatha Pattu, who delivered an extraordinary knock of 119 runs of 69 deliveries. Her innings was a masterclass in aggressive batting, featuring 14 fours and 7 sixes. It wasn't just that, but she also etched history, becoming the first ever centurion in the Women's Asia Cup. She was ably supported by Harshita Samaravikrama and Anushka Sanjeevani, who contributed 26 runs and 31 runs respectively. Sanjeevani's late surge added crucial runs towards the end, ensuring Sri Lanka posted an imposing total of 184 for the loss of 4 in their 20 overs, which proved to be an insurmountable target for Malaysia. Chasing a formidable target of 185, Malaysia's batting crumbled under the pressure as they were dismissed for a paltry 40 runs in 19.5 overs.
And that's a wrap of Primetime News for tonight.
Thank you for watching. Good night.